Hello, Common Sensers. Thank you so much for watching this video. And today I have the pleasure of introducing you to one of my comedy mentors and heroes, one of the best comics in the world, Jackson Perdue. Welcome, Jackson.
Well, thank you for that introduction.
I wanted to start the conversation off with how did you start in comedy? What made you want to start doing comedy?
I think doing comedy is just a calling, like the ministry. I call it my left-handed ministry. I think you're just born that way, and that's what happened. I was born, and that's what it, that's what it led up to.
What was the epiphany that said, oh, okay, I'm actually going to go to a club now?
Well, you know what? At first I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to be a novelist. When I was 19, I was thinking, hey, I don't have anything to write about. I don't know anything, right? So then I said, well, let me go down to a journalist. But then you got to go to school for that. And I went to San Diego State. Then I didn't want to go to school. I didn't want to go to class. I said, forget that. Then I could just be a joke writer. That's one sentence. I could write that. I got to crank out a sentence. And that's the first money I ever made was writing some jokes for Joan Rivers.
Wow.
And that was like
one-liners. And how did you connect doing that?
I think at the Comedy Store, and then she used to work out her stuff at a place in Beverly Hills called Ye Little Club, and I'd go over there and talk to her and give her the jokes, and she bought jokes from all young guys. That was her rep, low-paying new guys for some one-liners.
And how did you get to the Comedy Store?
The first stand-up I ever did was at San Diego State on their amateur night. I did it twice there. The first time I did it, it went okay. Mm-hmm. The second time I did it was so bad that they turned off the light and the mic. And the only laugh I got is when I said, he did say comedian, didn't he? But as I walked around the campus that week, people saw it and would encourage me. Go, hey man, I saw your thing. That was great. Hang in there, blah, blah, blah. But then the Comedy Store opened in Pacific Beach. Wasn't in La Jolla yet. So I went down there and I got on the amateur night. There was only 2 amateurs in town at that time in 1976. And it went just like I had it in my head. All the laughs are right there. And then that's when I realized it's the venue. You got to be at the proper venue. And at that time in the early 70s or mid 70s, most people had never seen a stand-up comic live anyway. At the San Diego State thing, it was all folk singers, singing these coffee house songs and, then me. And so when I got to the right venue, because people came there to laugh, came there for the comedy, then I started hitchhiking to the Comedy Store in Hollywood.
Wow. All the way from San Diego.
Well, that was nothing because I had hitchhiked to New York City.
What?
And back when I was 18. That was just right up the street. This is in the 70s when you could hitchhike. I'd come up on a Sunday night when they had Improv had their open mic. I'd just try to hang out all night and go to the Comedy Store on Monday and then, hitchhike back.
Wow.
That's why I don't feel sorry for anybody new people whining about, hey, shut up and pay your dues. And then sometimes I would come up here. That's when I met Danny Mora. I had come up here and I was late about 5 minutes because I was hitchhiking, right? And so I told Danny, that's when he was running the Monday Night Ride, and I said, hey, I came from San Diego, hitchhiking, blah, blah, blah. And he just looked at me and he said, well, you know what? That's showbiz. And showbiz, it's cold. And I thought, all right, I'm in show business. It is cold, that's right. And I felt part of the business, like, all right, I'm in showbiz now, and it is cold, that's right. And I could just not be discouraged at that time. Even when I was homeless, living in my car, I just thought of that as romantic. Because I had heard that Joan Rivers, Tom Dreesen, Jay, everybody had slept in their car. That was just a rite of passage. So I would be reading my Lenny Bruce autobiography in the backseat of my car, sleeping. I just thought of that the other day when this heat wave just passed, because when I was homeless in the summer, it was 105 like every day. I was sleeping in the back of that car, and I had sweated so much during the night that when I woke up the next day, I couldn't even stand up erect because I had sweated so my body was just all cramped up, Man. But yeah, I thought that was part of the package, That's when I call the time I lived in Montego. Because I was living in a 1968 Mercury Montego.
Oh, that's funny.
But you're asking me how I got out of that situation?
No, I want to know what made you get there and how long you were there before you got out.
When I first moved here, I moved in with my mother, who was living here temporarily, and she got me this gig managing an apartment, so I paid no rent, which was great, right? But I had this cat, and the landlord told me to get rid of the cat repeatedly, and I'd always say, yeah, get rid of the cat. The damn cat likes to sit in the damn window. And so he got me thrown out. The cat got me thrown out. So I met this chick I was selling sandwiches. I'd go in these buildings in Wilshire and sell these sandwiches and, you know, for lunchtime, office workers.
I remember, not that you did it, but I remember I worked at Casablanca Records. The guy would come with a little bucket and have sandwiches and salads.
Yeah, exactly. It was called Movable Feast.
Yeah.
And so I did that. And so I met this chick in one of the buildings, and she was going to take my cat. And then we hooked up, and I ended up living with her. And then she kicked me out. Then that was my car. So, you know, there I was. But how I got out of it was I was doing a showcase at the Hyatt House, Skippy Lowe's showcase next to the Comedy Store, you know, for people who couldn't get on at the store. They had good singers over there. So I met this singer named Stevie Woods, who later had a couple of hits.
Guy.
Yeah.
I knew Stevie Woods.
Yeah, he was on Motown
and Atlantic. He had a couple
Steal
of hits
the Night.
on.
And he passed away a couple of years ago.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he went to, actually made a career for himself in Germany and had a family in Germany and, became a star in Germany. But he took me out of off the street. And we lived right there by the apartments by Pink Dot Liquor Store, right there on La Cienega and Sunset, right? We had no furniture, no money, but a bunch of drugs. You know, had all the drugs, but that was it. And so, you know, that's how I got out of that.
You're starting to pursue your stand-up, and what was the thing that gave you a breakthrough?
Probably when I started working for Mitzi Shore at the Comedy Store.
Mitzi was the owner
of the Comedy Store.
Yes.
And so I became her gopher, the messenger boy, right? And I had a company car. And then from that, she made me Polly's babysitter. So I babysat her kids, Peter and Polly. I named Polly the Weasel. So I got in, you know, through the family and was, you know, kind of got in tight with Mitzi and the kids. And then I just started getting spots there and started getting better.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And what was your first road trip outside of the Comedy Store?
That was with Mooney, Paul Mooney. Paul Mooney gave me my first jobs out of town and out of state. The first out of town gig I did with him was in San Francisco at the Punchline, and him and I and his family, we drove up there. And then the out of state gig was in Texas, because Sandra Bernhard was going to open for him, but she got a part in King of Comedy movie, which made her, you know. And so I got that fallout spot from Sandra. So that was my first out-of-state gig. And that's all I wanted to do. You know, my dream was just to be a comedian and get on an airplane and go to strange cities. I always likened it to like being a hitman. You know, you go there, you kill, get your cash, get on a plane, go home. Yeah.
What is one of the things that you've taken away from working out at the Comedy Store that you use everywhere?
Well, you know, the Comedy Store is the top place, was or maybe still is, I don't know, but certainly was at that time. That was like being in Harvard and Yale, I say. And so when I would go to the Chuckle Hut in Ohio or Iowa or something, if I ever felt intimidated, I'd remind myself, hey man, you come from Harvard. You know, you come from, you know, the top place. What are you doing being intimidated by this little shitty room? That would straighten me out. La Jolla Comedy Store is my favorite room. So if I was in another strange room somewhere, I'd always imagine that I was in La Jolla, you know, just to trick my own mind. And so that's how I adapted. But again, basically having the confidence coming from the Comedy Store, you know, that's the pinnacle. Everybody's trying to get there, and that's where I come from. So, you know.